Long time, way too long. I hope you can hear me all right. Yes? Good. Glad to hear it. I'm Jim Porter. I'm your MC, and I'm on the organizing committee. You've heard this line before, but I'm still here. I hope you're sporting your ugly Christmas sweater and attire. It's the season. This one cost me $100, donation to the Sierra Parks Foundation for Heidi Doyle. I have a stack of them at home, so if anybody needs an ugly Christmas sweater, just let me know. Of course, we miss seeing you all. It's been a long time, but we're here today at Town Hall working hard. We have Rory from Tahoe Truckee Media. He's the ace guy. He's making all this happen, and we appreciate that. So we want to thank our sponsors. Here we go. Tahoe Forest Health System, Porter Simon Dixon Realty, Truckee Tahoe, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, NV5, Auerbach Engineering, Tahoe Truckee Media, Sierra Sun, Moonshine Inc., 101.5 FM, the great town of Truckee, and Truckee Tahoe Airport District, and our organizing committee. Lynn Saunders, to my right over here, and the chamber staff of Ruth Garrissey and Melissa Williams, and Kelly Cutler with CAT, Mayumi Eligado, Moonshine Inc., Gerald Herrick, the Fire Department Board, Tony Lashbrook, retired from something, he will never say, Deb Ryan, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, Ted Owens, Tahoe Forest Health System, and last, Ernie Grossman, who declined to state an affiliation. We love you, Ernie. We miss you. So this is part of the program where we salute and thank Ron Allen, our caterer. So toast your coffee mug and thank Alan. Ron, thank you, Ron. And now we go around the room with introductions. Well, we used to. We don't do a lot of things anymore, but that's one of the things that we miss here. It's this whole pandemic thing, the social interaction is it's difficult, it's sad, and so we're trying to make it work here. And next month we hope to, and future months hope to have an interactive program for you. So without any further ado, let's get going. Now, if you have any questions, here's what you do. So write this down. Text 530-412-3719. Okay, if you have questions, I don't know where they go, and I don't know how they get answered. Ted Owens is here. He may be part of the solution or problem. So it's 412-3719. Paul, don't disappoint. I know you have the first question. You always do, so get that out there. An appropriate question I might suggest is, why is Jim Porter still here? But we'll see about next month. That may take care of itself. So first up, I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker of the first virtual Good Morning Truckee. I've been practicing that line. We're looking forward to getting to know her a bit more. I'm talking about Jennifer Callaway, the new town manager for the fabulous town of Truckee. Jennifer comes to Truckee from the city of Morro Bay, which, if you know Morro Bay, is very cool. So another manager in town moved from someplace in Texas to here. Morro Bay to Truckee is, at least it's roughly equivalent. So she was in Morro Bay. She was the finance director. Jennifer is also the acting public works director and public information officer. In her spare time, she was the chief custodian and head librarian. Unless I just added that. So Jennifer has over 18 years of experience in local government, and I can tell you, my ears to the ground, she's receiving rave reviews. Please welcome Jennifer Callaway.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Porter. I'm hoping my sense of humor can be as good as yours at this hour in the morning. I'm excited to be here, even if it is virtually, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody at the next live Good Morning Truckee event. So I have a short presentation I'm going to share with you all and hopefully leave enough time for some questions. Just a little bit about myself, and I think Jim covered it pretty well. So 18 years in government service, coming most recently from Morro Bay, where small towns you hold many or wear many hats. So I did not serve as librarian, although that could be an interesting challenge. So maybe I can add that one in the future at some point. The bachelor's degree in accounting started out in finance with that, and my master's in public administration and law degree from Syracuse University. I grew up in a very small town in upstate New York. The village actually was about 800 people, so kind of used to that rural and remote lifestyle, and that's a lot of what attracted me to Truckee and kind of resonates with me and is reminiscent of my hometown and how I grew up. So very grateful for this opportunity and grateful to be here. The whole entire town team has been fabulous and very welcoming, and it's been a great month and a half. So a little bit about what I plan to do or what I've set out to do in my first 30, 60, 90 days. And this has changed a little bit given COVID and how we can interact and kind of moving back on the roadmap. But, of course, meeting one-on-one with our elected officials, mostly via phone and Zoom, but still having some really good conversations and their expectations and their viewpoints. So that's been great. And trying to get out in the community as much as possible. It's all Zoom based, but trying to do the Rotary groups, or Optimist, the realtors, all of our partners and stakeholders that we can connect with and start to build those relationships and get to know the town and the people that run the town. So that's been really helpful for me in the first month and a half. And we also focusing on communication and active listening. Part of what really drew me to Truckee was the Truckee Way and that commitment to dialogue and open communication and civil discourse and engagement. So I love the philosophy and the ethos. I can see it resonating with our staff every day. And so trying to really not only embrace that, but help carry that forward. And we've launched a new town newsletter called Talk from the Town. It's available on our website, available in English and Spanish. So I encourage you to check that out, and be issuing one of those monthly with features from various staff members on relevant information. And of course, and coming up in the first 60 days, we have a new council coming on board tonight. So we want to thank Tony Commendatori and Dave Tierman and Jessica Abrams for their service in the past few years, and welcome Courtney Henderson, Lindsay Romack, and Jan Zabriskie, who will be joining us this evening and will be transitioning to a new council. So that leads into goal setting conversations and team building, all of which is going to happen in February. We're planning that already. And also trying to reach out to the businesses and do some business walks and hear from the businesses, not only how they're doing in this COVID world with all the changes and how they're pivoting and being resilient, but also just in general how we can support them as a town. And then lastly, in 90 days, I'm hoping we're back into some sense of normalcy, and then can do some ride-alongs with our employees and shadow our employees. We have done an employee survey and tried to connect with the employees as much as possible, but looking forward to those ride-alongs and really spending the day with employees to see how they're doing their job and what I can do to help support them. So quickly, just an update on COVID. We all are aware that there's regional stay-at-home orders that are triggered by ICU capacity 15% threshold. We have not met that yet in Truckee. We're in the greater Sacramento region. It has not been updated as of this morning, but yesterday we were at 20.3% capacity for our region. So we are not under the stay-at-home order at this time. It has not been triggered. When it is triggered, we'll have some full closure of bars and wineries, personal services, hair salons, and barbershops. Retail can stay open at 20% capacity. Restaurants are takeout, pickup, and delivery only. And hotels and lodging is for critical infrastructure support only. The ski resorts are allowed to stay open, but with restrictions and modifications. And so all the things that the town has been doing or is trying to do, we are currently closed at our public counters except for the police department. So you are still able to come in. And the intention of that is to help minimize any exposure both to the public and to our staff so we can keep functioning and maintaining services. We have staggered shifts for our public works employees. They come in at various times in the morning in order to reduce the number of people in contact with each other at any time. and we have cohort working groups. So half of our employees are working remotely during part of the week, and the other half are on site, and then they switch at the end of the week. And again, that's to minimize if one person is contaminated or becomes exposed, they're not exposing the rest of the City Hall and the employees, so that we can continue to provide those services. All of our meetings are Zoom based at this point, and will be until we start to see improvement in the case counts. And we are complying with all the guidelines, including the new OSHA guidelines that have come out with protocols and procedures. We do have an internal EOC established. Chief Billingsley is our operations director. Robert Romack is our emergency ops coordinator. And then we have a variety of staff that are working really hard every day to make sure we're providing the best services possible. We've added a recovery unit to our EOC to support businesses and do outreach to our businesses. And we've also added a housing support unit with our housing coordinator to help provide any assistance for housing and rental needs. And you may have noticed we've definitely increased our social media activity since COVID started. We have a town PIO, Brown Roberts, and a police PIO that are very active in trying to disseminate all the information and updates as COVID comes out. For our residents, we've provided a number of different programs to help with meals and delivery services, grocery pickup, and pet pantry program for pet food. We've also provided rental assistance. We're really collaborating with all of our district partners to get out joint messaging and consistent messaging, trying to expand snow play areas so people that are here in town, whether they're residents or second homeowners, can have multiple areas to go to this winter and help maintain that social distancing. And again, the coordination for all of the social services and lifeline services, so connecting Point 211, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, the Tahoe Forest Health System, and TDPUD are just some of the partners that we've been collaborating with. For our businesses, we've had a variety of grant programs and assistance that we've worked with a number of agencies to help coordinate. Most significantly, and I'm sure everybody's seen, the Winter Wonderland program in downtown Truckee. Of course, that's a little bit impacted now with the regional stay-at-home orders, but hopefully still will be helpful as we move out of those orders into a reopening again. And lastly, just wanted to point out, we did hold collaborated with the Chamber and the Downtown Business Merchants Association to have a town hall yesterday. There is a survey available for businesses. We do ask you to take a few minutes and complete that survey so that we can better assist you and help you going forward. I kind of rushed through that, but I did want to make sure we had enough time for questions. So thank you for inviting me this morning. And again, I look forward to meeting everybody in person.
Do we have any questions?
We do. Can you hear me? First off, congratulations on your new position here in Truckee, Jen. How have you been received thus far, both in the community and by staff?
That's a great question, and I have to say exceeded any of my expectations. I think everybody has been incredibly kind, very welcoming, both internally and externally, and very patient with all of my questions. And as I'm kind of getting the lay of the land and getting my feet underneath me, so I'm very grateful for that, and it's really been beyond anything I could have hoped for.
Another question.
Excuse me, Ted. No more softball questions, okay? Let's get in there and get into.
Oh, we have a good one here.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
All right.
What is the status of the Chief of Police search, and what will it look like?
The recruitment is currently open. I'm not sure at this point how many applications we've received. I won't find that out until it closes. We will be including the incoming council members, or trying to gather some input from them because they didn't have a chance to participate before opening up the recruitment. We'll then do a full, interview process with the top candidates, including as many different focus groups as we can, members of our Police Officers Association, internal staff, our directors team, and of course the community. We had some good community feedback on what people were looking for, and hopefully we will have somebody in place around the February timeframe.
Thank you. And let's see, here's one. Although it is early, are you seeing areas within the town that you would like to improve or change?
I've taken this approach that my first 30, 60 days here is really about listening and learning. I think that's my job at this point. I think it would be premature for me to come in and try to change anything without really understanding the history of why things were done or established. Having said that, I think every organization, no matter how long somebody's been there or staff have been there, you can always improve. We always continue to strive to do things and keep up with technology, and we can always grow and advance ourselves. So,
okay. Having worked in other cities, how does Truckee compare to your experience in those cities?
I think that's an interesting question. Morro Bay is very similar to Truckee in that a heavily tourist-driven area. Experienced a lot of the same issues with COVID that Truckee experienced in terms of litter abatement, visitation, even if it was daily trips in the summer for vacations, and the impact that had on the community. Having said that, I'm very cognizant not to compare communities. Everybody has their own unique identity. What works in one city may not work here without understanding the culture. So I look at Truckee as a unique community, and we need to be guardians of the Truckee way and the Truckee community.
Thank you. I have one last question, unless, Lynn, you have one. Okay. Housing is quite an issue, or the lack thereof, here in the Truckee area, in the Truckee-Tahoe area. Have you begun to assemble some goals with respect to addressing the housing issue, and how is your own housing search going?
New housing would be a challenge coming up here, even just personally, and it definitely has proven to be the case as costs keep rising. I'm very sympathetic to that situation, especially going through it myself. We haven't found permanent housing at this point. Hope to at some point next year. We have been having a lot of conversations internally about what's been happening with housing and the direction we see going forward. I'll say it kind of breaks my heart. I've met with several of our employees and just to see how they're doing, what work they're doing, again, how I can help support them. And I always ask the question, is there anything that would make you leave employment with the town? And I've had a couple people say they can't afford housing here. And the town pays well, so if we're struggling with that in our employees, I can only imagine how much of a struggle it is at all levels. So definitely a priority and something we're really focused on.
Thank you, Jen, and back to Jim.
Just maybe one last question, Jennifer. How, if people want to participate in the Planning Commission meetings and Town Council, how do they do that? Just
all of our meetings are posted online, and you can certainly watch them on TV, and you can text in messages. You can submit public comment in advance to Town of Truckee email address, and they'll be read out at the meeting and shared with the council. We also include a copy of our calendar in the newsletter, so that's another place that you can go and look for the meetings. And we do encourage, it's not the same, we understand, as being able to participate in person, but we do encourage everybody to tune in, watch, and submit your comments.
all right, so give a big round of applause for Jennifer. Thank you. That was pretty impressive. Next up, we have Carmen Geisles, the Superintendent Chief Learning Officer for the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District. Carmen has hit the ground running in these ever-changing and challenging times for education. I'm just wondering, who in the world goes and looks for a superintendent's job in 2020? But thank you for doing that. So let me go on here. Carmen has 35 years of educational leader experience and has served in multiple capacities, including a special education teacher, an English second language teacher, a migrant student teacher, a technology director, a principal, a special education director, and as a deputy superintendent. So she's kind of covered all the bases. Let's welcome Carmen Geisles.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's definitely a pleasure to follow such a prestigious act before me, Jen. It's nice to meet you and Brian as well. I'm so excited to be here this morning. I have been in education, as Jim said, for 35 years, started out in Texas. I'm a child and a product of Head Start in the second language program, and my mother was an instructional aide there, and she went through the ranks and got her degrees and also ended up being an assistant soup in her career. So the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I started with TTUSD in August of this year, so I'm just finishing my 4th month. And we were second homeowners, my husband and I. We bought some land in 2014. I live right off of 267, and we bought a property, and built a home during the winter of 2017. So my goal, my wish was to retire here, and then when Dr. Leary posted his retirement, I jumped at the chance to apply. So I am living my best life, regardless of COVID. I'm working in the industry, and my passion's still in education, and I'm living in the place that I want to end my days here. So I'm very excited and happy to be here. This school year, we started in distance learning on September 2nd, and we pivoted into hybrid instruction learning with cohorts on October 29th. And then the weekend of November 22nd, we had an increase in our cases within our district. And it became apparent with cabinet and with our board of trustees that we were really having a hard time maintaining staff operations for service and providing teaching to our students. So we pivoted back into distance learning, and it is our intent and hope to continue in distance learning until mid-January, where we'd like to pivot back into hybrid. We are alarmed about the cases, and we are doing our part to mitigate all of the safety issues at our school sites. Our staff, our teachers, our classified employees have been just exceptional. As you said, Jen, everyone is tired. Jim, everyone is working so hard, but they keep going, and they keep going in the best interest of our students. We are looking at continuing to move forward with hybrid instruction in January, and hopefully by the end of the year, maybe even consider the possibility of 5-person, a shortened day. But of course, a lot of things have to happen with that, 5-day a week. But we are very excited that we can continue to provide support for our staff and students in that manner. It's been an interesting ride. I have also been working on my entry plan, and one of the things that I've been doing is visiting school sites as much as I can. A lot is through Zoom, a lot is through virtual communications, and so I'm really excited to be able to come back into a regular school year, hopefully by next year. Not so much for myself, but most especially for our students who really need it and really deserve that. So I am very, very happy to be here, and I want to be able to build the successes on which Dr. Leary led for so long and take TTUSD to the next level of excellence that it can be. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm waiting for questions and go from there.
Okay. First question, is there any consideration that school might run through the summer if the pandemic allows?
That's a very interesting idea, one of which has been brought to me several times. I would have to investigate that with my principals, with my teachers, there's so many pieces to that, but it's something that we might consider in some capacity.
You did mention Rob Leary, and Dr. Leary was very well appreciated in the community, big shoes to fill. However, are you aware of or witnessing any components that you would like to change within the school district. You have fresh eyes, so what are you seeing as those things?
I, first of all, see so many successful components of the district. The team, the principals, and the teaching staff is just exceptional. They're dedicated because they were once students here, and now they're parents in the district. So it's really rare, and it's amazing to see that from the different places I've worked in. I think it's like peeling an onion, Ted. It's you see what's working, you see what's really successful, and you just want to build on it. So there are areas we can look into, but there are also areas where we can excel even more so than we are. So I have a few ideas. The most important piece right now is getting us through this unpredictable, difficult time, and looking into exploring some of those ideas more in the coming year.
Thank you. Understanding that we have a pandemic and that you've been here for 4 months, so it might not be possible yet. Have you had an opportunity to interact with parents of students within the district?
Not as much as I'd like. I've had parent phone calls. I've met some on Google Hangout, but no, not as much as I would love to be able to do and interact safely. I'm hoping that at the start of the 21-22 school year, we would have some community check-ins periodically, every couple of months, to just check in with the families and community and invite kind of a town hall setting in a more personal manner. I'm hoping to start that after January virtually. So I would love to be able to meet more and more often with parents.
Thank you. And another housing question. Housing is very problematic here. And are you looking at ways to address this for our teachers and other school employees? And have you had experience with housing in the large district that you came from?
Yes. I'm a board member of the Tahoe Truckee Workforce Housing Agency. I'm a sitting board member, which has been a great experience meeting many different leaders from different parts of the community. And in my previous district, we actually established workforce housing. It took us about 3 years, but we actually established from the ground up building and renovating apartment complexes. I believe that this coming year, the selection process is going to start for employees. So I do have experience. What's really great, though, about this area is that there's a collaborative. In my previous district, we worked on it solely in-house as a district, and we did a lot of the heavy lifting alone, but it was a great learning experience for me. So I do come with some ideas about workforce housing. So I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts and my ideas with the Tahoe Truckee Workforce Housing Agency.
Okay.
I'm happy to say that we received 2 questions via text. The first one, do you recognize that the elementary students are at a disadvantage learning via distance learning despite teachers' best efforts, and is there a plan to address this?
Actually, yes, we do recognize the most important thing for a child is the one-on-one interaction, especially at the elementary level. We do have to address the learning loss that is prevailing all over the state of California. So we are working on that as we speak. In fact, we met with the entire leadership team, all of the principals, and we looked at focusing what standards can we go through really deeply instead of just kind of skimming across the board. And we are required, as every district in the state is, to develop a learning loss plan. So we're looking at our data from the first trimester for our elementary students, and we'll be looking at our data from the first semester for our high school students, and develop plans for really accommodating those needs and those gaps. And we'll be working on this for this year and next year, and possibly the year after that.
I do have one more that
Yes.
came in. What are staff that aren't needed doing now that schools are online, such as transportation or custodial?
Well, I can tell you that no staff is not needed. And transportation, I have to give a shout out to our transportation director, Ms. Nanette Rudeau, who developed a repurposing plan for all of her bus drivers. So during distance learning, our bus drivers were making phone calls to students who were not showing up to online learning on a regular basis, or they were helping make deliveries for food service, and actually checking in with individual students. So we are repurposing our employees as much as possible, and I have to really just say how inspired I've been with the ability and the desire to work no matter what. So we've been repurposing most of our classified employees in that respect. And our food services employees have been working nonstop since March, delivering meals, delivering food, and they have been on the front lines. So everyone has played a part in a different way. And the one thing we say at TTUSD is now is the time to think out of the box. So that's what we've been doing quite a bit since this pandemic has started.
I do have one more that came in, and this one's probably a good one to close on. What is something special and unique you've seen at TTUSD that you didn't have or see in your previous districts?
I believe the dedication in all of the employees. I'm just amazed as to the stick-to-itness. No matter what, it's going to get done. No matter what, it's all about the students. And in my previous districts, it's a lot of transients because you're in the Bay Area and people, move in and out. But here, what I'm so inspired by is the just devout dedication to children and learning and students, and meeting parents of students who were students themselves. For example, I met Derek, one of the bus drivers. This is a perfect story. Derek went to school here in TTUSD. Derek went off to school, went back, and has come back, and he's a bus driver. And Derek, just as an example, has won national rodeo bus driver championships. And we had to build a testing site at Wright for our students and staff. And we were really concerned about the turnaround time for receiving the results of those tests. So Derek, Nanette shoulder tapped him, and Derek is taking all of the completed test kits every day, starting at 12:30, and driving them to Folsom in a district vehicle, dropping off the completed tests and coming back, so we can have at least one less wait time day. And that's what I'm talking about, is dedication. I sent him an email and thanked him. He goes, "It's what we do." And that's, to me, what's so inspiring about this district. Actually, everyone I meet in Tahoe Truckee. So,
Thank you so much, Carmen. And Jim?
So it seems like the bus rodeo, that our drivers have an advantage driving around our roads with all the snow and everything. So
that's true. I would definitely want to be following one of them in a snowstorm.
Yeah. Maybe one more question. How are the board meetings, in this idea, the concept is public participation, how are the board meetings handled, and how would people contact you?
It's the same process that the town council meetings are. Right now, we're modeling what we're doing in our school sites. So we were in virtual in distance learning at the beginning of the year, then pivoted to hybrid, kind of this setup. But at this time, since we're in distance learning, parents and community members can email their comments to the board or call in. We have a special line that we've established. So we also publish our board agendas online and on our website as well. So we follow the exact same process as the town of Truckee does.
That's great. Thank you very much, and welcome. We're glad to have you here. Yeah. All right. And last but not least, we have Brian Wright, the interim general manager at the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District, has over 20 years experience in water utility operation. He's been with the PUD for 7 years. It's our favorite PUD, by the way, Brian. And was appointed interim general manager just a few weeks ago, as we all know. Prior to joining the PUD, he served at the City of Manhattan Beach and California American Water. Please welcome Brian Wright.
Thank you, Jim. I also wanted to congratulate Carmen and Jen for your new positions, and welcome to Truckee. Carmen mentioned the ability for locals to get it done. I too noticed that when I arrived here in Truckee, it's very remarkable, the get it done when the chips are down attitude and approach here in Truckee. So that's fantastic. As Jim pointed out, I am the interim general manager with the Truckee Donner PD, so a little bit of a unique circumstance, but thought it was important that the PUD took the opportunity here to engage with the community. Kind of my role and responsibility over the next couple months is to keep a lot of the momentum going that's been started with the PUD and continue to engage with the community and carry forward a lot of the projects that we have going that I know that staff and our partners here in the community are excited about. Jim already covered my background. This mic's still, Jim already covered my background, so I'll just go through it real quickly. I have spent the last 20 plus years in utility and water systems management, and arrived here with the PUD in 2013. We've spent a lot of time over the last 7-8 years focused on a lot of great projects, local groundwater management, 10-year capital plan improvements. Everyone's aware of here locally with the water meter installation projects and water loss reduction. One of the big challenges moving forward continue to be compliance with ever-evolving state regulations. And, the approach of reducing carbon footprint and energy efficiency here across all of our operations here in Truckee. One of the projects that we're really excited about here at the PUD is our engagement with the community, and this comes in the form of our new strategic planning process. And really wanted to take the opportunity this morning to give a little bit more background and insight in how this community can become involved in this. We're here this morning talking about new leaders, and I kind of, the approach is, we can all lead from our current positions, and engaging with the community is an important process, or part of that process. So just wanted to give an update of where we're at with our strategic planning process and how you in the community can become involved in this. Starting off, at the core of all of this is the PUD's mission. The mission of the Truckee Donner PUD is to provide reliable, high-quality utility services while meeting customer demand, managing district resources in a safe, open, responsible, and environmentally sound manner at the lowest practical cost. All of this is accomplished with a foundation of our values. Safety is our way of life. Communication, that's what we hear this morning, the send and receive. It's a two-way communication path, and the district is really embracing this. Integrity, honesty, and ethical. Accountability, own it. Timeliness, meeting our goals and commitments in a timely manner. And work-life balance. This is the Truckee way here. Work-life balance, we've all moved here for all of the endless opportunities for recreation, environmental stewardship, development. It's really important here in the Truckee-Tahoe Basin. So the strategic planning process started with painting the landscape, and we took kind of a three-part approach to this. The traditional, all of the things, as Jim mentioned, our favorite PUD here, the reliability, the sustainability, all of the traditional kind of core principles of a public utility district, making sure those are maintained and carried forward. Innovation, looking for opportunities to improve through technology, development, alternative resources, and then finally, visionary. This is where the community is involved. We're looking for visionary input. What's the next step for the PUD? What does next week look like? What does next year look like? And what does the community really need from our local utility district? So painting the landscape, our board of directors identified 8 strategic levers. Organizational integration, engage with customers and communities to identify opportunities, take the best of private sector thinking to add value to our community, environmental stewardship, create a sustainable, resilient environment for all of our communities, manage for financial stability, develop an inclusive culture that drives our success, and finally, be welcoming and transparent in how we work. From these strategic levers, our board of directors have identified goals. We conducted, as a district, a SWOT analysis, really identifying what strengths we have, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is an important part of this process in order to be successful in our overall strategic planning. And finally, what have we been doing over the last 90 days and the next 90 days to engage? Community realignment. This is the district realigning with our community. One of the things we haven't done necessarily well in the past is getting out into the community and really engaging communication with what the community is looking for from the PUD. Strategic planning process, including staff in the development of the plan, reassessing and updating our value statement, modifying our mission statement, and developing the strategic levers. Corporate culture. This is engagement with our partners, public agencies. We're really excited about the fueling project, the potential project with the Truckee Fire Protection District and the town of Truckee. This is a huge benefit for the community. There's a lot of discussion this morning and throughout our community about employee housing. The district participated with some of the other public agencies, the school district, airport, hospital, in terms of workforce housing and what that looks like. Equipment storage projects, community service events, and staff development. Renewable energy, the hot topic across all the communities here in California. And so it's something we need to definitely engage in, see what the appetite is out there for renewable energy resources, and continue to leverage opportunities for our local community. Rate setting, we recently went through a water rate study and rate establishment. One of the things that's in kind of tandem with that was the consolidation of our capital improvement plan for both electric and water. And from a human resources perspective, continue to develop staff, look for opportunities to improve our organizational structure. The broadband restart, working with TTUSD recently to provide some wireless LTE or broadband internet services for local students that are in need, and then expanding from there. What does that look like? What other public agency opportunities are there? And what would be the PUD's role in that? This is a really exciting project, I think, for the community. There's a lot of discussion about the challenges with the Zoom town, so to speak, of everybody working remotely. And so, does it necessarily mean the PUD's the one delivering the service, or are we assisting some other agency in that venture? So, really exciting. Admin and financial systems, we have a new CFO with the district, and we're really excited about enhancing our outward reporting mechanisms, transparency, and some of the annual reports that we provide to the community. And some of the administrative components, we get some feedback from a lot of our contractors and developers. How do we streamline some of our processes in-house in terms of district code and our development standards? So like I said, this has been a board process. From those 8 strategic levers, we've begun a couple of really exciting steps that you'll see taking place over the next couple of weeks. This week we have a community survey. We've hired Adam Probulski, Probulski Research, to conduct a community survey to really get some input beyond just our ratepayers, but the community as a whole, get some feedback on some of the initiatives and projects that this community is excited about, and really get a two-way communication started. As I mentioned, there's a few kind of plates spinning in the air at the same time. This chart's a little bit busy here, but we have a lot of things that moving towards several steps to getting to the end of our strategic planning process. And a lot of this has to do with engaging with communities to prioritize what this landscape looks like. ultimately, the discussion is, we have a lot of ideas. This kind of, when I joined this community 7 years ago, one of the things I noticed very quickly was that there are, this community is unique in the fact that there are a lot of innovative, creative minds. There's a lot of energy and commitment to the development of the community. And so these discussions are both to validate and discover from our ratepayers and community what the needs are moving forward in the future. So timeline-wise, things to look for this month, again, the community survey. Going into December, or the end of December into early January, we really want to direct everyone's attention to some focus groups that we have established or plan on establishing. And those focus groups will be community-based to, again, engage with each of our neighborhoods and, the different kind of communities within Truckee. Timeline-wise, this week, the community surveys will be completed. We'll have a workshop on December 16th with the board of directors to kind of compile and speak out on what we've learned from those surveys. In January, we'll have a follow-up workshop after the focus groups. In February, we'll run through an environmental responsibility model, align these with our cultures and values, and then in March, we'll have a final workshop to start establishing and running through the final strategic plan. Wanted to give a thanks to Pamela Hurt Associates as one of our consultants who's guiding us through this process. Also, Andrea Gutierrez with Idealwide, who's working with our social media platform. It's a great project here with the PUD. And then finally, I wanted to direct the community to a web page we've set up to attend your neighborhood virtual focus groups. This is going to be an important part of this process in order for us to have that two-way communication with everyone here in Truckee and really start to explore and get feedback on a lot of the initiatives from the district. Wanted to finally put out the website. This is the URL for that registration for those focus groups in January. So the week of January 7th through the 15th, we really encourage you, in order for you to have a voice here with the PUD, log into the website, register with your community, and we look forward to having that engagement with you in early January.
Ted, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we do. First off, Brian, I'd like to thank you for stepping into the role of interim general manager and to be with us here today on rather short notice and have to pick that up. So we appreciate that. I have several questions that have come in relative to the general manager. The first one I don't believe you can answer, but it is why was the previous general manager let go?
Yeah, as you pointed out, that was a board decision that I can't speak on this morning.
The closed session information.
That's a very good answer.
Jim in the room.
I'll act as your counsel on that.
Along that same note, I have another one that says, what will the general manager search look like? And are you going to throw your hat in the ring? And you might not want to answer that one either.
Great questions this morning. In terms of the process, obviously the board made a very difficult decision a few weeks ago, and the board, I guess you would say my appointment as interim GM provides a little bit of time, keep the momentum going with the district on all the projects we've been working on. And over the next couple months, the board needs to, through their discussions, set a timeline and kind of define what that process looks like moving forward. So I would imagine the community would have a little bit more information on that as we get past the holidays into the first 2 months of 2021. In terms of throwing my hat in the ring, obviously it's a great honor and privilege to serve as the interim GM for a great organization. Career aspirations for general managership somewhere at some time. absolutely. It's kind of the board going through this process. If this is the right time, we'll know over the coming months.
Okay, I'll shift gears. How about a question on renewable energy?
All right.
Sounds good. You've made, the PUD's made great gains in their portfolio relative to renewable energy. Are you still on track to meet your goals, I think for 2030, but are you still on track to meet your renewable energy goals?
The PUD is actually ahead of the timeline, so to speak, for renewable energy percent of our renewable energy portfolio in terms of state regulations and requirements. And that's what this kind of engagement with the community, the focus groups, the surveys, is to really to get a feedback from the community and what that needs to look like moving forward. But yes, to answer the question, we are on time, actually ahead of schedule. We're looking forward to that process moving forward.
Okay, I have another one that goes back to the GM search, but it's related to your strategic plan. You showed us your strategic plan guideline. Do you believe that whoever the new general manager is will be here in time to be a part of the strategic planning, or will it be complete before you select a general manager?
Another great question. Ideally, the new general manager, I don't want to speak on behalf of the board, but I think ideally, under the best circumstances, the new general manager, whoever that might be, would be on board for some of the final processes here in the strategic plan development. We have some key important processes right now are kind of outward community based, and as we collect that information and evaluate it, the board has a lot of great milestones and development looking into February, March, and April. So to answer the question, ideally, that general manager would be on board and an integral part of that process.
Thank you. Lynn, do you have some questions? I've got some more too. But
I do.
Go ahead.
What role could the PUD play in the region's growing need for broadband?
Great question, and that is a huge kind of component of our community outreach. Obviously, we have some infrastructure that could be leveraged as a community benefit. In terms of what the PUD's role is, there's a lot of open discussion for that. Do we serve as, leasing out infrastructure to another entity that provides the service? Is there an opportunity for the PUD to provide service in certain areas? That's where we really need to have that community discussion and see what the desires are, what the needs are, and the board really bring that information back and kind of move forward with the best approach. Because clearly, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is community benefit. Utilize existing infrastructure for the best community benefit.
I do have a couple others that have come in. Is bunkhouse meant literally or just a label in the slide that you had referring to housing?
It's kind of our terminology, that in the utility world, the old school idea of, bunking up in the warehouse when you're working those, 3 or 4 day storm events. The PUD definitely has a need for, staff housing during emergency. I think 2017, 2018, some of those big winters where we have staff, on board for several days in a row, working through the night and really need a location to kind of regroup, refresh. And so that bunkhouse term, but, realistically, what we're looking for is where are the opportunities out there for workforce housing that could be, a JPA. It could be something we're sharing with other agencies out there, and when the need arises, we all have that resource available.
One more here. Integrity and transparency seem like words that sound good but lack meaning rather than reality based on known low PUD employee morale and resentment as discovered by and reported in recent stories published by both main local news outlets. Can you provide your perspective on that?
I would counsel that you be cautious in this question, Brian. Keep going. Ignore me.
Glad that one didn't come in on my phone.
I'm not charging, so you do whatever you want.
Thank you, Jim. There's quite a few layers to that question. And so, anytime a transition occurs, cultural transitions, employee transitions, there's a lot of, lumps and bruises to get through, and a lot of opportunities as well. Integrity and ethics, I think, are uncompromisable. That's something that carries you through there. Your values carry you through all of these transitional phases of any organization. I know that over the last couple of weeks, I personally, with our HR manager, have really engaged and sat down and had meetings with the entire staff to listen, to hear what the concerns are, and help as a team here, really regroup as a team and move forward through this. So anytime there's a transition, this is one of the kind of the rough waters to navigate, and as we mentioned earlier on, that get it done Truckee way is what gets us through that. And so we're excited about those opportunities moving forward.
Thank you very much. One question, very simple. December 16th, I think you said you had a board meeting to review the survey results. Will your new board be seated at that time?
Yes. I apologize. We did have an election. So first, congratulations to all the local officials elected here in this recent election. I also would like to congratulate Jeff Bender, Joe Aguirre, and our new board seat, Kim Harris. But yes, the board will be seated. The new board will be seated at this meeting, and I believe there will be an election of officers moving forward.
Last question. What was the driving force behind the recent rate increase that the board acted on? I know you mentioned that you had an infrastructure plan and what have you. I guess the question would be, was there any other driving force behind that increase?
Another very good question. Yes, there is. Obviously, with utilities, capital improvement plans, 10-year, 5-year, are extremely important, and we obviously have to fund those plans. In terms of water utility specific, there's a lot of other nuances associated with water utility rates, and we went through the workshop process and the board process, the public process, and sometimes, unfortunately, there's not enough time to really get deep into the nuances. But one of the things we locally have been challenged with is, the cost, the increasing cost of operation, labor, materials, and the depreciation of our assets out in the field have occurred at a higher rate than our rates have been increased historically. And so, many of the board members and the community have worked fantastically to ensure rates are kept low. But as we evaluate, the increase in cost of operation and the depreciation of assets, it's really important that we take that responsibility to ensure that we can fund future maintenance and repair, to ensure that, we have that resiliency and reliability here in Truckee. We have great, clean, cold water here. From that perspective, it's very easy to operate this system, but because we're in a mountain environment with, a tremendous amount of infrastructure in order to deliver that water, we need to make sure, looking out 10, 15, 20 years, that we're in a good financial position to maintain those.
Thank you, Brian Wright, for stepping in on less than short notice. I'd say no notice, to refine Ted's comment. But obviously, you're picking up the ball, carrying it forward, and we appreciate it. And we appreciate all three of you presenters. I mean, our community is blessed to have the three leaders here in this room leading us forward. And it's just very impressive, and I just can't say how delighted and pleased I am. This is my first opportunity to meet you all, and I can't say enough good things, and I will say enough good things. So, and with that, it's a wrap. So this is the first virtual Good Morning Truckee. Next second Tuesday, like every second Tuesday, we hope to have interactive, so people will be able to involve, asking questions, and we get to see each other. No more of this anonymous stuff. So, I just in closing say, stay safe, shop local, take care of your friends, be respectful, and have a great holiday for all of us. And I think that's it. And thank you, Rory. And Ted, my sidekick over here. And Lynn, my other sidekick. Thank you all. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, the very beginning one?
I'll do it on cue.
Okay.
Can you handle it? You did good, Jim. Thank you.
It worked, huh?
Yeah.
I was all tense,
odd.
tense in bed last night. I have never done this, you know. And,
It's odd. Everything just feels weird.
yeah, and I was on.
Oh, by the way, I did vote.
Good morning, Truckee.
Once more, look at
Yeah, yeah. Good morning, Truckee. We're here. It's been a while. Good? All right.